Yeah, well, okay, then let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Let's go over the notes from the last meeting. So we started with the C of Linux FS4 integration step 1, which is, I think, now completed. So we have now FS4 as the default stack in CF deployment YAML without any additional ops files. There is an ops file to make FS3 the default stack again. It's used here in the Bionic stem cell validation pipeline. And we also have left the existing experimental ops files in place, just with an empty except for a short comment.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that was released as incompatible major version 28. Well, so far, not much feedback.
We had an interrupt yesterday about somebody trying to run with FS3 and Jammy, I think it was, with 28. Let me
yes,
again.
I've seen the thread in Slack.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's just, is that just not a supported combination? Because one of them's Jammy and one of them's, is it Focal or is it Bionic? I don't know which one.
We don't have Focal at all. It's Jammy with a Bionic stack.
Right.
Well, this should work, basically. I think they had problem with the binary build pack, that some version of the binary build pack with some version of FS3 didn't work because some glib SO
yeah, we had to, there were the catch changes that were required. Okay.
Wasn't found. I think they found a working combination, and I briefly explained that we validate the last version of each of these artifacts, but well, not of course each and every scenario. So I think they managed to get it running.
Perfect.
Okay. We discussed the C of Linux FS4 compatibility change, or RFC, not change, RFC. So we would like to have a compatibility stack with the Python and Ruby binaries included, which makes the transition easier. And yes, this has been accepted by the TOC, and they are starting to set up the infrastructure now, a new repository, and well, sooner or later, the compatibility stack should appear on Bosch IO. That was fast. Okay. So this is it. Fantastic. Okay, no release versions. Good. Well, yeah, but the placeholder is there. That is fine. I've seen that we also still have FS2. So, okay, this is really old. So when we have here a working version, we would include this in CF deployment. That is, provide a job which automatically updates that, a new ops file, so that you can opt in to use the compatibility release and validate it in one of our scenarios. Should be rather easy. So in the RFC, we discussed a few other possible solutions with the efforts for the different working groups. And yeah, I think for us, this is, I think, the best solution. Yeah, good. So right now there's nothing to do. We have a story to integrate this when it's available. So Stefan, in case you have missed it, the scaffold is already there.
Behan actually contributed it.
Fantastic, but we don't have a version yet. Okay.
Yeah.
That will take a little longer.
that could, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Gitbot migration is done. I notified sent a notification in our Slack channel that the old Gitbots can be removed now. I don't know. Have you already done that?
I have not. I need to add
Okay.
that to my action item list for this week.
Yeah, so it's somewhere in our Slack channel. There are 3 obsolete Gitbots, unless they are used somewhere else, which I can't tell.
No,
but from our side, they can be removed.
Perfect.
Good. Yeah, CATS test, we'll come to that later because we have one. Yeah, we have one more thing which is a bit more urgent. This week, the new Terraform version came in, 1.4.6, together with the new Bosch bootloader version 9. This is both in CF deployment concourse tasks on our image that is used everywhere. And unfortunately, there are quite a number of incompatible changes. That's why several jobs turned red. So I tried to summarize everything in this issue. Where is my chat? Yeah. Okay, then paste it. So, so basically, the state files from our existing bubble environments are not compatible anymore with Terraform 1.4.6. They've changed the syntax for types and some of the block definitions and so on. The only way to cleanly resolve this is to bubble destroy the long-running environments and then set them up again with the new Bosch bootloader and the new Terraform. Yeah. Now, so these are some of the incompatible changes I already found. For example, Terraform override files are not accepted anymore because they really have to override something specified in a base Terraform file, which we did not do. But here a simple renaming is sufficient. A bit more tricky is changes in, for example, the Google SQL database instance resource. So here you have to remove some equal signs. You have to remove this list and instead insert single blocks. So yeah, this was some try and error. So these are the configuration files which we use in, so wait, let me show so that everyone knows what I'm talking about. So for example, for Trelawney, for the upgrade scenario, we are using an external database and blob stores. And these files had to be renamed, and also the syntax had to be changed a little bit. There are a few other bubble config Terraform files, but in total it should not be too much. What's a bit trickier is the recreation of the environments, because you cannot do a bubble destroy with the new Terraform version on the old state. So this is the workaround I found. You have to use an old version of CF deployment concourse tasks, for example, version 14, which contains Terraform 13 something and bubble 8.9. Then you can run destroy. So this destroy was successful with the old image. And once this is done, you have to switch back again to the new image, and then you can run setup again, and then the environment is basically ready. Note that this is a bit tricky because bubble destroy, the actual version is defined here. You have to create a feature branch here like this and insert a tag. Then change the branch of runtime CI in the pipeline to this one. Then you can run destroy, and then you change it back, and then you can run bubble up. Or maybe we should use two concourse resources of this, the old one for destroy, the new for bubble up. Did you understand what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. You could also just pin the resource in the concourse pipeline view.
No, that's not it. Sadly, not.
Work?
No, it doesn't work because of, I tried, of course.
Oh, because it's the image.
Yeah, right, because here you have latest.
It's the image. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't work. It's not that easy.
If it was a task, you'd be fine, but it's not. It's the image. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay. But with this procedure, we should be able to migrate all the running environments. So Trelawney is migrated. If you want to pick another one, feel free to do so. I have paused the main pipeline for now because it simply will not work. Or some tasks using Terraform, tasks using bubble outputs will not work at the moment. Like, for example.
Oh, interesting.
This one here. This is the next thing we need to resolve. So this calls bubble outputs, which interprets some of the Terraform files to extract some data. And now it says plugins are not installed, which is true. If you do Terraform providers in this container, you see that it is not installed. I don't know exactly how this worked before. So this is in the container. And if you do here a Terraform init, then it installs the provider, and then bubble outputs works again. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, really, things you never wanted to know.
No, it's been a long time since I've had to work on all of these. So yeah.
So it seems that these two special tasks are affected, and possibly a simple Terraform init resolves the problem.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Hi, Carson.
Yeah, running Terraform init prior to running Terraform outputs doesn't seem too problematic.
It should be okay. It's just a few special tasks which are affected. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, over the next days, we should try to migrate the remaining environments. And yeah, note the next tricky thing is that some have already been touched by the new Terraform version. And then you get, not this one, then these double quotes are removed, and then it cannot be interpreted anymore by the old Terraform version or vice versa. So you have to carefully check if the state is not half migrated. And I had to do a git revert in the Trelawney environment to get it back to the old state, probably tear it down with the old tools and then set it up again, and then it works.
Makes sense.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of this. Also, sorry, I'm late. I miscalculated the time again.
Yeah.
The event is still wrong in my calendar. Is this a bubble Terraform version or a Terraform version that's messing us up? Like, is it the Terraform version in our image, or is it the bubble Terraform?
I think both.
Okay.
So the background here is that the bubble is being taken over, I think, by the Bosch team.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have decided to switch back to main from the 8.4 like maintenance branch that was being maintained previously.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just cut their first release from main.
Oh, wow.
And so they've modernized everything. They've bumped forward from Terraform 0.11 or 10 or whatever it was to the latest Terraform. Everything's now up to date, and it's great for Bubble, but it's a huge breaking change for everyone that uses it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we could, if we were to just tear everything down and then and recreate them.
Right. Okay. That's what we're talking about. Is unfortunately, because I think you and I a month or two ago changed the pipeline to auto bump Bubble rather than just it being manual. We just consumed this and it caused chaos. So we're having to roll bits back so that we can destroy things, and then we can roll it forward again so that they can be stood up. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I did see the failures yesterday. I assumed it was our Terraform version. I didn't realize.
I saw you retrigger a job, but no.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that job. Green, and then.
Yeah. Usually, but no. So here's the migration procedure condensed in a few lines. So if you like, you can start to migrate the remaining environments. If not, then we can also do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky because there should not be two people working in parallel on the same pipeline, because then you overwrite. If we do fly set pipeline, two different people at the same time, this will be even more chaos.
Right.
Okay. Any more questions?
I mean, it might just be worth biting the bullet and tearing all of them down, fixing all of them, and then just
you could do it in a batch. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that might be best. Yeah, once they are torn down, then we can update to the latest version. Then
right, just because the big concern is every Tuesday morning it tries to run Bubble up with the latest version, and if you've got half in one version and half in another, that just not going to work. You just need to pause that pipeline effectively.
Okay, good. Okay, any more questions on this one? Okay, good. So then let me check. Push time out for the CATS tests. We've seen quite a lot of failure in the CATS tests, in particular in the experimental ones. Now, since we removed the CF Linux FS4 CATS job, which ran in parallel, things look already a lot better. So maybe could it be that the CATS suite has some glitches that do not allow two CATS suites to be run in parallel?
Or was it just that we were overloading the environment by having that many tasks running in parallel?
I already scaled out the Diego cells to 8 or 10 now, and the load was not that high. And in general, in cats, everything is properly designed to have unique names and so that there are no collisions whatsoever.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, if it's now green, we don't need to bother with fine tuning. There was just one thing I did not really understand. Let me see. I've taken some notes.
Is the green runs here? Are they still with scaled out, or have you scaled it back again since you removed?
No, I have not scaled back.
Okay.
We could scale down a little bit to maybe 6 cells again. But I think it was not the Diego cells which were really overloaded. Yeah.
Tend to agree with Dave that probably running two cats both at 12 like processes is probably hitting the CFD at like double the amount that we expect to be hitting it at.
Yeah, or there is one resource which is used by both, and depending on the order of the tests. Yeah, okay, if they stay green. Just one thing about these timeouts. So we have the default health check timeout set to 180 seconds. That is, when you do CF push, how long does it wait for the app to become healthy for the first time? And in our cats, we have set this to 240 seconds, which would not make much sense because after 180, if app isn't healthy, then it's already game over.
But presumably the CF push timeout includes staging and everything else. Whereas the app health check is just when the app starts up, how long do we wait for it to become healthy, I would assume.
Careful, this is the maximum amount of time when you start CF push. I think this is for the CF CLI. How long does it wait until the app reports healthy for the first time?
Because there's a separate staging timeout there as well.
Right above
yes, there's also a staging timeout.
Which wouldn't seem to make a lot of sense if this one included staging.
Yes, this is true. Wait, how did we use CF push time? I was a bit confused about this 240 here, why it is not
I imagine that's some magic number generated by like testing, right? If we went back in time.
Yeah, it's been 240 for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I can't really remember why I took down these two numbers. I was a little bit confused, but
it might be worth talking to Cappy about what the health check timeout is applied to.
Stefan, didn't you know this in more detail? This maximum health check timeout.
If I remember correctly in Cloud Controller, so the health check timeout is the one that you configure that an app has the time to start up, right? It's the initial, so for Java application to get the VM running, etc. And the maximum health check timeout is the upper bound that a end user can configure via the manifest. So you cannot configure a value bigger than 180 seconds. I mean, I think on our landscapes, we have set that to 10 minutes. And the default is 1 minute. So if you just push an app, you have the 60 seconds, and you could increase it by explicit configuration up to 3 minutes here in this example. I think that's where these numbers come from.
Yeah.
Did y'all start looking into this because of the build pack cache tests
Yes,
that were
because
failing?
this one failed too often, and it looked like the app did not become healthy in this.
Yeah, I had a question about that because I saw that the latest change for the build pack cache test was that someone, this might be out of date, the one you're looking at, because I think someone added
I think so.
a hard-coded timeout of into one
Yes,
of
you
these
did
tests.
with us.
Yeah, if you check the, I don't know, if you check the latest on main, I think that test includes a hard-coded timeout now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the issue.
Yeah.
The default was 60 seconds. So after
you're kind of cutting out for me, Johan. I don't know if that's true of everyone.
Yeah, for me as well, but
okay.
Healthy after 6
Nope.
seconds, then it would also plans to wait here for 4 minutes. So yeah, so I'm a little bit. Sorry?
we can't hear you. You're cut off for whatever reason.
Can you see me? No,
Yeah, we can see you, but the audio quality is
very
not
choppy.
good.
Is it now better? I don't have any issues here.
Yeah, no. Sounds
So
good.
far, yes,
Again.
better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, we try to increase the timeout for the CF push to 120. And I think this has stabilized the test somehow.
I had a question about that because I wasn't involved in the efforts to change this timeout at all, but I was tracking a separate thread from, because Cappy started the thread, Cappy folks started the thread saying, hey, this test is flaking, and then we started looking into it. And I started dropping it into a lot of channels because I had no idea what was going wrong. And it ended up, someone identified it as a Go router problem because of the way that the NC thing is set up. It doesn't actually, it responds, the NC server responds so quickly that the client doesn't actually get an opportunity to send a request. It just receives the response immediately.
Okay.
And that was erroring out on the Go router side somehow. And I think Go router folks released a fix for that in the latest routing release. So I thought that was actually what stabilized it.
This could also be the case. I haven't tracked the routing release changes.
There was in our SAP internal reviews a talk by Dominic about I think exactly this issue. It was really you need a lot of
264 and
I can try and track down the thread.
And here we have.
I just dropped the Cloud Foundry thread into Slack, or into Zoom, I mean.
Yeah, it's now released to 63 already.
Yeah, and 263 had its own problems, so we didn't actually get that until 264 came out. But 264 has come out, and we got that one. But it was something like there's an actual Go issue where if the server responds before the before the client actually has a chance to send something, which the NC server, the like custom little NC server does, then Go just like fails. It thinks something's wrong.
Okay.
And yeah, I think Greg Cobb was able to reproduce it with like a little app, like test app, and the Go Router folks tried to push a fix for it. So I don't know for sure if that was what stabilized the test or whether it was the timeout, but it would be interesting to try ripping out that timeout again and see if the tests still work fine.
Then we can remove this timeout again. Yes, just do so, and then we'll see if it's changing anything or not. Okay. But that's cool. I didn't notice that they really tracked it definitely down and released a new version. And this 263 was broken with right now I remember the Bosch release was broken somehow and couldn't compile anymore. Yeah. Okay. Good. Fine. So then we should have stable cats tests again. Okay, good. Then last point for today, unless you have something, is renovate for our concourse. So this is our concourse blueprint project from the Runtime Interfaces working group, and they have put renovate in place. Which searches for the Terra grunt files and updates, all kinds of artifacts. And question was if we should just take over this approach to our concourse.
Is this something that Dependabot can't do?
Well, this is a very, very special configuration. So they're using a lot of regex to find the right files because our dependencies are somewhat hidden.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Dependabot could, of course, do the same.
I see. And we can't teach Dependabot to do it the same way, presumably.
I don't, possibly yes, but I don't know. So we at SAP were also using Renovate heavily in a very large project, and also very specific, sophisticated configuration to get everything working properly. And well, if that works for them, we could just take over the approach. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've used it as well on projects where we've used Dependabot. I was just curious because I'm assuming that Dependabot is automatically scanning these things, as opposed to Renovate, where I think you have to run a job to do the scan, to force it to scan every time. I'm assuming that there's a job in their pipeline that runs Renovate for them.
There is likely a GitHub action for that.
Oh, okay.
Let me check.
I didn't see a .github folder.
So here is something. So this was, this is a Renovate PR.
You can
rebase it if you want. So somewhere you have to activate GitHub actions for your project and
right. It's a GitHub app. Yes.
Yeah, and then you can use PRs and
yeah, it's very similar to Depend. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, quite similar. Yeah, we compared the two, and each has its pros and cons. But
no, if it's a solved problem, then why not?
Yeah, if it works, that's cool. I think that it would be harder. If I were to have to change that, I would find it harder to parse than Dependabot because I just haven't worked with it before. But if it's already working, I trust that it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this the Renovate stuff is probably not so difficult, but of course you have to reapply Terra Grunt and that all from time to time to get the changes to our concourse. This is then likely the challenging part. Okay, good. But then we would take over the solution and see how it works.
Regarding this concourse, there might be some additional trouble ahead. I received an email for this app runtime interfaces infrastructure concourse that the Kubernetes version will be updated soon.
Yes, indeed.
I don't know if that's a problem or not.
I received the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Could just wait and see what happens, or we could trigger this update ourselves, and we can do it after a release when we have a little bit time for it. It's maybe more healthy. But
yeah, I haven't looked into the details, but yes, there's another GKE cluster version update coming. Yeah. Okay, good. So that would be everything from my side. Any other topics?
I think there was maybe a small call out for cats. Some folks had been tying themselves to latest cats version and latest CFD version. And because we cut a CFD release that switched to CF Linux FS4 and didn't cut a cats release that switched to CF Linux FS4, some number of pipelines broke. It was an easy fix. It was just switch branches. But if we, for those kind of big changes, it might be nice if we cut a cats release at the same time so that whoever is tracking those two latest releases also gets the corresponding cats change. Excited about the Linux 4 edition. Thank you for doing that.
That certainly makes sense. Then I would add this to our release wiki, to the release major version section. Yeah, that makes sense. We usually don't check if a new cats release is necessary when we do a CF deployment release. Okay.
Yeah. And they probably shouldn't be tracking it that way, and I think we tried to make that clear, that tracking the version branch for the CFD version they're using or tracking release candidate is probably smarter for their pipelines.
Yes,
but yeah, just a good citizen moment that we can achieve pretty easily in the future.
Should track release candidate branches, of course. Yeah, that one is validated. Okay.
Yeah, then maybe this one heads up. We have now started to pick up the work on removing CF Linux FS3 from CFD. So it will come sooner or later, this PR, and it will still be there available as an opt-in, as an ops file, but yeah.
I've seen the draft PR from Florian. Whoa. A little bit bigger because he has to add a number of new ops files. But yes, okay, this is still work in progress, and until the pipeline is not prepared, we
it has time. I mean, there was even an announcement by Canonical that 1804 will get 1 month more support for whatever reason until end of May.
End of May.
So it's not that urgent, but yeah, we also don't need to keep it in. I mean, it can be re-added. I don't know if the stack gets new versions. I guess so, because the pipelines are just doing what they are doing.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, so
there are new versions coming in. Yes. So definitely they are still releasing quite often, actually.
Will be interesting then in June what happens if there are still new releases of CF Linux FS3, but then of course with the same content all the time. We may consider to stop it, so
we'll
to make it visible.
To remove it,
but
sorry?
Let's see. Yeah, we to have a fixed version would help also to make it visible to everybody that this one is now frozen, and
I mean
that's the way it is.
the first thing we can do is remove it from the update releases pipeline. So we just stop consuming new versions, even if they do produce them.
That's something we could do as well.
Yeah.
But okay, I would not do it before really the content has, as long as there are new versions, makes sense to consume them and make them available. Cool.
Good.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Then we are done for today. I'll update the meeting notes tomorrow. It's too late now. Then, yeah, wish you a nice evening or a nice day wherever you are. And see you again soon.
Sounds good.
Yep. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.